The office felt different now, even though nothing had changed outwardly. The same fluorescent lights hummed overhead, the same clatter of keyboards and distant phone rings filled the air. But for Maya and Jihoon, the rhythm had shifted. Maya arrived early that Monday morning, her heels clicking against the polished floors. She had spent the weekend replaying their encounters in her mind. The subtle looks, the whispered conversations, the moments when their hands almost touched. Her heart still fluttered at the thought of him, and yet guilt tugged at her. He has a life outside this office. He's married. I shouldn't feel this. Jihoon, meanwhile, leaned against the edge of his desk, reviewing a report that felt suddenly trivial. His thoughts kept drifting to her, the curve of her smile, the light in her eyes when she explained an idea, the way her brow furrowed when concentrating. He knew he should not feel this way. His life, his responsibilities demanded restraint, and yet, every time she entered the room, that restraint weakened. Their interactions became a delicate dance. At first, it was a shared coffee in the break room, brief moments of conversation when no one else was around, a glance that lasted a heartbeat longer than normal, a smile that spoke more than words could. One rainy afternoon, as Maya reached for a stack of files on the corner of Jihoon's desk, their hands touched again. This time, neither pulled away. Instead, an almost imperceptible pressure lingered, a silent acknowledgement of the attraction they both felt, but refused to name aloud. "Be careful," Jihoon murmured, his voice low and steady, yet tinged with something that made her stomach tighten. "I am," she replied softly, glancing up at him. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the office around them seemed to fade. Rain streaked the windows, blurred the city beyond, and for a brief, suspended second, the world held only the two of them. Weeks passed, and the emotional pull between them grew stronger. Their interactions became increasingly intimate, though still constrained by professionalism. Shared lunches stretched into quiet conversations. Subtle touches occurred under the guise of collaboration, and emails exchanged after hours carried an undertone of familiarity and understanding. Maya's mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She admired Jihoon deeply, felt drawn to him in ways she could not explain, and yet feared the consequences of her feelings. At home, she would lie awake, heart racing, imagining what it would mean to give in to the attraction she felt. Her dreams were colored with him, not in fantasy alone, but in the quiet longing of a heart unwilling to be denied. Jihoon, too, wrestled with his conscience. He had built a life of order, duty, and appearances, yet Maya's presence disrupted that carefully constructed balance. He found himself seeking her out, lingering in her presence and listening to her voice long after meetings ended. Every moment away from her felt like a small ache, a reminder of something essential that had been missing from his life for years. One evening, after the office had emptied, they found themselves alone again, reviewing an important project. The city lights glimmered through the rain-streaked windows, casting reflections on the polished table. The air was thick with unspoken words and suppressed emotion. "Maya, do you feel it too?" Jihoon asked quietly, his eyes searching hers for a truth he feared to admit. She hesitated, the weight of her feelings pressing against her chest. I do," she whispered, "but we shouldn't." "I know," he replied, his voice barely audible. "I know we shouldn't, but resisting feels impossible." They worked in silence after that, yet the atmosphere between them had shifted. Every glance, every casual gesture carried meaning now. The line they had tried to maintain was blurring, their emotions deepening despite themselves. Small moments of intimacy became more frequent. A hand on the small of her back as he guided her through a hallway, a lingering look when passing documents, shared laughter over an inside joke that no one else understood. Each moment was a test of restraint, a battle between desire and reason. The office gala loomed on the horizon, a night that promised distraction and yet intensified the undercurrent between them. As they prepared presentations and coordinated final details, Maya caught herself noticing Jihoon in ways that went beyond professional admiration. The way he straightened his tie, Jihoon, for his part, found it increasingly difficult to focus on the gala's logistics. His thoughts drifted constantly to Maya, her expressions, her warmth, her quiet intelligence, and a yearning he could no longer deny. By the time the gala arrived, the emotional tension between them had reached its peak. Across the room, amidst laughter and music, their eyes found each other repeatedly. Every interaction was loaded with unspoken meaning, every brief touch an acknowledgement of the storm building between them. The night was a delicate balance of public propriety and private longing, and in that moment, they both knew the inevitable was approaching, the point where restraint would fail, and the desire they had so carefully hidden would demand acknowledgement. Maya left the gala with her heart pounding, mind racing. She knew the connection with Jihoon had changed her life irrevocably, and she could no longer pretend that she could control it. Somewhere deep down, she understood that love, once awakened, would not be contained. Jihoon returned to his office later that night, alone with his thoughts. The weight of desire was no longer a whisper. It was a tangible force, drawing them together, even as they both understood the dangers it posed. And so, the office that had once been just a place of work became a stage for something far more potent. Every glance, every conversation, every subtle touch carried the promise of what was to come. A love that defied rules, a connection that could not be ignored, and a desire that would shape the rest of their lives. The end.